Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sipping and Selling
with Joey Chanel. Welcome back to another episode of Sippin' and Sellin'. Today I have two cousins. I have Clark Drum and Logan Roschman from Two Drums Seltzer. It's made with real coconut water and real rum. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
How's it
thanks
going?
for having us.
You're very welcome. It's going well. It's going well. We're here. We're going to be sipping one of my favorite drinks. I love anything that has to do with coconut. I'm an avid coconut water kind of girl, especially being here in Florida. But I'm excited to share with the audience all about how this can became a cocktail and a business venture. Where did you guys come up with this concept? What is the story?
Yeah, so we were drinking this on the boat in the Bahamas. Logan and I have some property in the Abacos in the Bahamas, and over there, coconut water is just kind of a daily thing for people that live in the islands. And yeah, we were just on our island picking up coconuts and using the real coconut water to drink rum with it. We then brought it back, obviously, to the States and would drink it on the boat. And this was in around 2020 when all the seltzers were coming to market, and that part of the industry was growing so much. So we decided to try to do it ourselves and see if we could make something that tasted better than what was already on the market.
Yeah, I remember it was kind of during COVID. Clark was in LA and I was living in Fort Lauderdale, and he was back pretty much just because of all the shutdowns. And I remember we'd go paddleboarding like pretty often, and we'd kind of discuss like business ideas. And then one day I got a text from him saying we should start a seltzer company. Okay. And then we were like, well, this is the obvious choice, the coconut water and rum. And so I remember still going on long paddleboards just when nothing was going on, and we'd try to come up with names. We'd like be paddling by a bunch of boats and looking at boat names and just trying to come up with ideas. And the name was the hardest part, to be honest. We took us, I don't know, like a year maybe we'd meet every Tuesday with our uncle, or my uncle, his other side of the family, not a drum, but for at least a year before landing on a name that was now pretty obvious. But
obvious because your name is Drum, Clark, and you are a cousin. So your mother's maiden name was Drum?
Yeah, my mother's maiden name is Drum. And so my mom and his dad are brother and sister.
Okay, so that's why it's obvious, guys. For those of you listening and maybe didn't catch my intro or weren't listening to my intro, that's what we're talking about. So the name is Two Drums because there's two of them.
Two Roschmans wouldn't flow as well.
No, I don't think so. It sounds like an attorney's office, maybe doctor's office. All right, so here's my first sip. I'm going to try what's in my can. What am I having? I'm having the Florida Orange coconut water rum seltzer from Two Drums. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Yeah, that's the Florida Orange. We have an orange, a pineapple, and a lime flavor. The orange is actually our best seller currently.
I can see why. That's refreshing.
Yep.
Delicious.
Nice and light, refreshing, low sugar. There's only 4 grams of cane sugar, so no artificial sweetener or anything like that.
Amazing.
We're really going for like a health-conscious drink, something that doesn't get you hungover, and doesn't have high sugar content to make you have that headache the next morning.
Right.
We went with lower carbonation than like a High Noon or a White Claw, or most like the standard seltzers out there. Some people think it's flat, but there's like a little bit of carbonation because if you're on the boat or at the beach and you're in a swimsuit, you don't want any bloating. So
Absolutely not. None of us girls out there love that. I'm sure there's a few guys that don't either. I personally like light carbonation. I've touched on that on the podcast before. I don't personally enjoy anything carbonated because it repeats on you and you guys do feel fuller. The other thing you guys did well here is your low ABV. So for my listeners out there that don't know what that means, that the alcohol percentage is low. And that's great for a canned item because you guys can be in the C-stores, which is like, your Wawas. You can also be in the convenience locations, which most of these RTDs, they battle because they don't know or they don't think about that ahead of the time, and they're above 6%. And then you're shot. You miss that window. Something like this that your guys are saying, you're targeting the boating community, the beach goers, that sort of thing. You need to be in those convenient locations. So that was smart too.
Yeah, grocery as well. Like
right.
If you're going on the boat, you're maybe going to Publix and just getting a bunch of stuff. And we're not in Publix yet, but we've had some conversations with them, and Whole Foods. We're trying to get in all the groceries as well, just because a one-stop shop for everything you need before you go on the boat or to the beach is the idea.
And you're local, so you have to be in public.
Exactly.
Yeah, we also saw that for some restaurants that didn't have a liquor license, that only had a beer and wine license, this was almost a loophole for them to sell liquor. Obviously, it's real rum. And we've had some bars and restaurants really be interested in the product because it's kind of their way to sell their customers
Yeah, 1,000%.
rum when they wouldn't be able to make them like a rum and Coke behind the bar. So.
Right, smart. So you guys came up with a name after some trouble. We came up with a name. Next was, we wanted it to be rum-based, or what was the next idea?
Yeah, we wanted it to be rum-based because that was what we typically use when mixing it with coconut water, just because it's like an island drink, and rum is what you drink when you're on vacation, especially at the beach or in the Bahamas. And so, yeah, rum was the obvious choice, and then it also helped us because there's very few rum seltzers out there, and that has been a huge win for us on getting in places, because like we have vodka, we have tequila, maybe we have gin, but very few places have rum. So it's a good differentiator on top of it being also coconut water.
Right. So then where did you go to source your rum?
It's from the Virgin Islands.
Oh, nice.
Basically, it's just a white label from a big distillery in the Virgin Islands. We get it sent over to Florida in like big totes. It gets shipped to our warehouse where we have a subcontract warehouse that puts the can together. We ship all the ingredients there, and then it's all put together through their canning lines there. So
Amazing. All right. So you guys both didn't come from the beverage background, I'm assuming.
no, we kind of have both family and hospitality and restaurant. What was good for us when we were first starting is Logan's father was involved in a vodka company, so they were kind of already stepping foot into the business around the time when we launched this product too, which helped us because they already had warehouse space, and we were able to actually start our own distribution company for the two
nice.
brands. Since we already had warehouse space, we obviously got it approved by the city to be a distribution center. So no long-term history in the alcohol business, but we did have some, barriers like to entry that were already passed when we launched the product.
Right.
As family businesses.
Is the vodka still in business?
Yeah, it's called Gulfstream Distillery. They have a vodka, gin, and they're coming out with some other spirits as well right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. You guys are in, I'm guessing you're trying to target Gulfstream over there, then the racetrack?
Yep.
Awesome. That's so fun. So it's a family business in another avenue too, right? That's fun. It's not so simple to be a distributor or importer. That's definitely another challenge in itself, but it does have some benefits because, as I talked about before on the show, there's all different tiers in this 3-tier system and levels. So there's like the Park Street and MHW models, which are great, and I work with them often because I sell a lot of craft products. However, I handle chains like Publix and Total Wine and that sort of thing. And there's challenges there with delivery dates and that they only deliver once a month and that sort of thing. So I'm sure you guys were able to fill a lot of gaps, but also those big chains don't also like to add new distributors too.
Exactly.
So let's talk about what's not so great about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we created, it's called East Coast Distribution to basically service our own accounts in Broward. So all the bars and local restaurants and local kind of retailers, we go through East Coast, which is nice because then we, in a way, so Two Drums is not, it's just we don't produce it ourselves, so we're not that tier necessarily, so we could be our own distributor in a way.
Right.
But yeah, to get into Total Wine, we weren't going through East Coast, so we've worked with a couple different distributors now, but we use one called Community Craft that distributes us to Total Wine across the state because we wouldn't be able to do that. We wouldn't be able to get in there, and we don't want to deliver all over the state.
No, of course not. It's a big challenge, but it is helpful for the local joints that you guys are trying to target too, right? So where are some of the spots that people listening can find Two Drums? I know Total Wine, but what about on-prem?
Yeah, Total Wine is definitely one of our big off-premise. We also have Primo Liquors,
Nice.
And Ocean Wine and Spirits that has multiple locations. Those are kind of local go-to liquor spots or liquor stores. Recently, we just got into got in with the Nullhart Management Group that owns Rhythm and Vine, Palm Room, the Shorely, a lot of like the popular bars and restaurants too on Las Olas.
Nice.
So that's been really good for us. Just getting that brand awareness out there. Those are bars that are packed on multiple nights a week. Got, people our age as well, which is nice because we go in there and buy people drinks that are at the bar and kind of just get the name out there. Another one of our biggest on-premise accounts is actually the water taxi, the Fort Lauderdale water taxi.
That's cool.
They run all throughout Fort Lauderdale to downtown, to the beach and all that stuff. And they have coolers on board where they sell drinks. And part of the water taxi experience is a tour of they talk about the houses they're passing and the businesses that they're passing. And they do tell a good story about Two Drums, about being made by two local cousins. So that definitely helps play up people wanting to try it. And water taxi customers are typically, tourists.
Yeah.
So hearing a story about a local seltzer gets them excited to try something that they don't have back in their state that they live in.
And then also kind of promote, we're in the 15th Street Fisheries, which our family owns.
Oh,
and
nice.
The water taxi drops them off there, and they've already promoted Two Drums on the water taxi, and then they sell it at the 15th Street Fisheries and in the Lauderdale Marina Dock store as well. So it's kind of our greatest account because it hits so many different ones at the same time. And then we're also at the Fort Pickleball facility, so we obviously position ourselves as like a good post-workout or post-activity drink with a hydration benefit. So we do a lot of pickleball events, and they do a lot of wellness events there as well. So that's been a great account for us.
We also have a court there at the fort with the big branding on the windscreen behind it. So
Fun.
if anyone's at the Fort Pickleball Complex, check out our court. So that's good brand awareness there with the type of people, the active wellness scene that we definitely target. So it works out.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, we're drinking, right? And you have to balance, and you guys are trying to do that. And we're not technically allowed to say that you can't get a hangover or whatever. But at the end of the day, we know the benefits of coconut water and the electrolytes and all of those good ingredients and the benefits for drinking something that has it in the product already instead of having to chase it or whatever is convenient. It's also great to support local. Everybody loves to support local, which is really fun. But I'm assuming you guys eventually would like to expand, no?
Definitely.
Yes.
What's the plan? What are we thinking?
We kind of want to stay in Florida for the next year, maybe, just like really, instead of spreading ourselves too thin and opening up other states and not having a real presence there, is really like dominate Florida, get into all, like we said, Publix, Whole Foods, all the big grocery stores, other chain liquor accounts, and really be like a Florida thing. So and Florida's obviously a very touristy location.
And it's huge.
Yeah, it's
like
huge.
3 states in
Yeah,
one.
you can have a huge business
Very
just
diverse.
being in Florida. And like I said, Florida's a vacation destination. And if people find it in Florida and then eventually get to their state, then they've already had it. And it's not a whole relaunch, basically, would be the idea. But yeah, definitely want to dominate Florida before we start branching out too far.
Right. So right now we're in Broward County only, or are you guys in Miami also, in Dade, or?
Yeah.
Yes, some accounts in Broward, or mainly Broward, some Dade.
We're in the Keys, some accounts,
nice.
a couple of
Keys.
resorts in Key West.
That's a good fit.
We're in the Omni Resort, so they have a location up near Jacksonville and
Okay.
Amelia Island.
Amelia
Yeah.
Island.
Nice.
We're also the brand new location that just opened here in Fort Lauderdale.
Nice.
So I would say our epicenter is Broward, but we are in some one-off accounts in Orlando and North Florida and the Keys and stuff like that.
Right. So you guys had talked to me about you had a different package, and I'm sure there's some other things that were missing in the evolution, because I like to open a lot of tabs.
Yeah.
So we started with the product, we got the rum, we're going to the TTB, we're getting our label, all the stuff you guys didn't know about, or maybe you had some information from your family with the vodka. Fine, you shoot ahead to canning.
Right.
You pick your packaging, you pick your partner. What happened? One flavor first? What did we do?
Yeah.
We launched with one flavor, but even before that, we had used this a formulating group that was pretty well known, and we went to production, or we went to the co-packer and we're like, here's our formula, and they were like, this is a horrible idea. We were using frozen coconut water concentrate,
Okay.
which is heavy to ship. It can melt. Lots of issues.
The flavor house also sold us a formula that was their formula that if we wanted to do another run, we would have to get these flavors and this ingredients from this flavor house. So they were kind of like
putting you
pigeonholing us into like their formula, not like, hey, here's what you need to go find the best, suppliers for these ingredients. It was like, here's the formula, you got to buy from us.
Yikes.
And our co-packer just smartly, obviously we're learning as we go here, but they kind of cautioned us away from that. But it was a pretty big, there was a lot of capital that went into this formulation. So it was kind of our first step back of, whoa, we definitely made a little bit of an oopsie here. But we were lucky to have our co-packer. It's called Ziami. They're down right near the airport in Fort Lauderdale. But they're just very knowledgeable in the industry. They care. They're not just like, hey, give us your formula, we'll make your cans. We kind of sat down with them and went over what makes sense with this and what doesn't. And they actually ended up introducing us to another, it's called a flavor architect, who took what we kind of were thinking and made it easier to bring to market and just made it more simplified. So we obviously had to put some more capital to get that formulation done because it was a new one. But yeah, we did launch with just what we called our original, which was our lime flavor. There's the box there. I wish I brought an old can, but
I know.
We
This
kind
is
of
the original box.
All right.
we kind of did the packaging just based on what we thought looked good, more just like aesthetically. We looked at what other people were doing, what we didn't like about the look of it, and then as we were in more stores and saw our stuff on the shelves, we kind of tweaked our packaging to what we saw were the pain points. If you're marketing a brand new product, this said coconut water and rum very small on the bottom, so it was hard. People were like, is this alcohol? Is this coconut water? What is it? So that's when we moved to like having coconut water rum seltzer in bigger letters just to show. And yeah, we've done minor stuff, but the packaging is definitely a big part of this whole thing. Not only what you're putting on your labels, but the actual material you're using. We ran into some pretty major issues with our packaging.
I'm sure.
So
A lot of packaging
share with the
problems.
audience the not so fun things. What happened?
Well, so we used to have a sleeved can, like they would can
Like
it.
a wrap?
Yeah,
Right.
wrap. And obviously it wasn't the greatest. It wasn't like awful, but there was always some issues with it. It would get water behind it and just like not look great. But then we had an issue with the cans we bought that were Ball cans, which is the biggest can manufacturer in the world pretty much. And the cans started failing, and we had like little leaks in like the side of it basically, and a lot of leakage, and we had to buy a bunch of stuff back from stores. And then our warehouse was full of like bad cans basically, so we had to throw everything out and not start over, but that's when we moved to the printed cans, just because it was a lot less issues with those.
Right.
But that was a big kind of learning experience. So there's a lot of fun or not so fun.
yeah, basically
Hiccup.
Expensive hiccups.
Yeah.
the can on the inside has a liner which stops it from eroding the aluminum. And basically it's a spray that goes in there and it covers the inside of the can so it protects it. But it's like a sunscreen. If you miss a spot, that hole is going to be where the alcohol and whatever citric acid is in this can is going to leak out.
Right.
And the issue is if it leaks out of one can that's faulty and it leaks down onto whatever's below it, then there's no can liner on the outside. So it kind of starts degrading it from the outside just from liquid being in there. And then then obviously your cardboard is messed up too. And we spent hours in the warehouse picking out cans, making sure there was no leak, and repackaging them into another cardboard. It was just like
Ouch.
a lot of wasted time. And obviously every can that leaks is, you paid for that. It's money coming out of your account.
Of course.
But it was more so the reputational stuff that we were afraid of. If you have leaking cans in your warehouse, you just think, if we walked into a Total Wine right now, would it be leaking on the shelf? But I think we did really well of addressing the issue, telling our distributor what the issue was, replacing cans where needed. And we never really saw a time where we walked into a store and our stuff was leaking. We were able to kind of nip it in the bud and not really tell our vendors what was going on, kind of just replacing stuff as needed. But that was definitely a learning experience in itself, and it was tough.
Yeah, it is tough, but there's challenges in the industry all the time. I've had my own similar. My father and I used to own and represent a cordial, so like a liqueur. It was strawberry, and it was imported from Italy, and it had tiny little wild strawberries inside that are called fragolinis. And they float. My dad put extra sugar in the bottle and they would float. And it was a beautiful look for brunch, not low calorie, not low sugar, nothing. Yeah. This was like high sugar content. And you put it with champagne or Prosecco, whatever. Well, it can't be in direct sunlight, right? So every beach bar that I thought was great, put in a margarita, put in a mojito, they had it right in the sun.
Yep.
It would kill it, right? Because the sun would heat it up. And the berries would basically fry from the inside, fall, and turn black. So I understand. I had to run around to ABC all over the state and frickin' pull bottles and beg them not to DQ us. So I completely understand. And this is someone who's been in the industry a long time, but took a risk on something else. Took a risk on a different product that's not in his wheelhouse because he's Mr. Rum. That's why I was excited to talk to you guys. He's the rum guy. And imported this Italian line of cordials, and it just didn't go so great in the beginning. I had to clean up a lot of mess and a lot of gross bottles, and you're afraid that maybe you lost a customer because of that, right?
Yeah. Right.
So you do have to get ahead of it, and it is expensive. But being in the industry is expensive regardless. Being in the liquor business and being in a can, you know, there's not as much margin as there is in a bottle. I've talked about this before. Did you guys always know you wanted to be in the can because you were like in the beach and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, that was just kind of like, we didn't really think about doing like a bottled spirit, to be honest, just because this is what we were drinking. So we were like, we got to make it work in a can. And my old roommate and like ex-girlfriend worked for Breakthrough.
Okay.
And they both worked like on the High Noon team, kind of launching High Noon. So I was familiar with the space a little bit, but like not as well as I would have hoped, obviously. And just like kind of learning as we go in the beginning, which was fun, but also could be expensive with some mistakes. But yeah, it was always going to be in a can just because that was our lifestyle. Just
I think the timing of it too, during COVID, like, you know,
Right.
this was after the White Claw boom and the beginning stages of when High Noon was really starting to take off. And it's interesting, there was stuff that we did that kind of is with the trends up till now that we didn't really do on purpose. You know, the low carbonation, now obviously the surf sides are really popular. People are kind of straying away from carbonation. Also just like the lower ABV kind of stuff. We never considered doing of 6%, or, you know, you see some of these 11, 10% seltzers. And yeah, we kind of just built the drink based off our lifestyle, and it kind of went with the trends up till now too. Cause I feel like the trends now in alcohol is kind of straying away from alcohol a little bit.
Yeah.
It's more health conscious, you know, which our product obviously contains alcohol, but we do have a health message, right?
Yeah.
especially the younger generation now, there's so many articles about they're not drinking at all, or they're drinking less, and I'm sure that's a part of it, but I kind of think it's they're kind of more picky on what they're drinking, and they're drinking lower ABV stuff because they don't want to be hungover, and just kind of more like thoughtful with what they're drinking. And I think this fits well with that because, like we said, it has electrolytes from the coconut water, and it's functional in a sense. On obviously it's alcohol, but it has some other benefits that don't leave you as hungover.
Yeah, of course. So you guys got into Total Wine, which is it's major. I love that chain. I work with them very closely, and you utilized your distribution partnership. So you get into Total Wine with the lime flavor first, or did we already have all the family?
Nope, just the lime.
Yeah.
The way that Total Wine does it is they do kind of like a test launch. They put you in, I think it was 8 to 10 stores, and kind of see if you're going to be able to sell anything.
They typically put you in 3 locations, and they're usually Boca, Naples, and Jacksonville, I believe it is.
Yep, you're right.
They're 3 test stores.
And they're their biggest.
Right.
Yeah. And we were like, well, I don't want to be in those stores. Like, so I emailed them. I was like, hey, we're a local Fort Lauderdale brand. is it possible we can get the Fort Lauderdale stores instead? And they're like, yeah, sure, you can have those also. And we're like, oh, like, so now we're in 6, and we're like, we don't really know what we're doing. We knew we needed to have like a tasting agency to so this 10-week trial period went well. So we used an agency, and they did solid, but we were in the local Total Wines in Fort Lauderdale like all the time, and no one sells better than the founders, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was helpful, but we did so well in the 10-week trial that they then moved us into all 42 or 41 at the
43
time.
now.
Now it's 43.
Yeah.
They moved us after the 10 weeks into all locations in Florida, which was a big win. And we're like, now we have to service these or do tastings, and it became expensive, obviously, but it was a great like awareness for us and really learning how to deal with chains. So it was a great experience for us, and Total Wine's been awesome for us so far.
So then getting in the other SKUs was easy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you're in with one, it's pretty easy to add more. There was, obviously when we added more SKUs, we also changed the formula a little bit on the original as well. So it was a little bit of a pain point to have our old product in so many stores,
Right.
40 stores, and we have a brand new line of new labeling, new, what we thought tasted a lot better. So there was some Total Wines were okay with us coming in with our new product and just switching out for the old stuff. Some of them didn't want that. Some of them we ended up having to buy our own product just to get it off the shelves to make way for the new stuff. But there was a lot of stuff hoops that we had to jump through. The website, what was showing on the website as the photo for the item, we had to make sure those were all switched out. So changing packaging is more than just making new packaging. You got to kind of keep up with your retail stores to make sure that your new packaging is being shown wherever it's possible.
Absolutely. And if perchance you changed the UPC and you didn't let them know, and then that doesn't pull in the data, and you're trying to track with this, I'm sure Nielsen's, because that's how you're going to get into Publix.
Right.
For my audience listening that doesn't know what Nielsen trends are, it's what it scans through, and it keeps a record of how well you're doing and where you're ranking. And that's important, especially for a category like ready to drink, because there's so many of them. Right. And they don't care if you're a low ABV, if you're local, if you're in a certain price point. It's just you're all glommed into one category, which sucks. But, at the end of the day, if you're performing well, it's great. You can be ranked pretty high. And I'm sure that's the goal eventually. Another thing I noticed that you guys did early, that I sell a can that has it on their can as well. You have gluten-free on the can. A lot of people didn't do that ahead of time. A lot of people are changing now and trying to follow those trends. So there is a lot that you guys did right, and it's the stories about the mistakes that make the brand, and it makes the story more exciting, and it makes people want to back you because you're being honest. Everything isn't sunshine and rainbows in the liquor business.
Right.
How did the tastings go?
In the beginning, with our original, the original flavor that was now our original lime, the taste profile was, I wouldn't say a lot different, but it was different enough, and it was noticeable compared to the new one. And
it was a lot more polarizing.
Yeah.
People either loved it or hated it, and there was no in between.
Okay.
With our new stuff, I can probably count on one hand over the last 3 years how many people have tried it and said, this is not good, or I really don't like this. That it's happened, obviously.
Yeah.
But way, way less than our original product.
The original had more coconut water, and so it was almost more viscous, it was
a little
thicker.
syrupy.
And if you like coconut water,
you loved it.
You loved it. And it was I almost had a saltiness to it because of the sodium from the coconut water, and just like I said, if you either loved it or you hated it, and there was really no in between. So we loved it, obviously. So it was hard for us to change it, but obviously looking back, super glad we did.
Yeah.
Because the new stuff is much better, way more universally liked, and is selling better. So
that's what's important.
Yeah.
You got to move that real estate. You got all these 40 plus stores. Now you got to help move it, right? And with the tastings, that's obviously very expensive, like we touched on. And if you're doing all your flavors, you're buying, at least a pack to sample during the 3-hour sampling. And then you're hoping to sell at least 6 of each flavor and all that sort of thing for a reorder rate. But the idea is that whoever tasted it, whether they purchased or not, is that they're going to come back and want to rebuy. So you don't have to be there all the time.
Right.
Do you guys follow any of your reorder rates or anything like that to keep track?
We've talked about it, and we've had people approach us with their, tracking
Systems,
programs and systems, and we haven't really as much as we maybe should have. But we've now seen most of the time we're anywhere, whether it's an event, a tasting at a liquor store, we do see people that come in and say, I'll offer them a sample. Oh, I've already had that. It's great. I had it here, here, and here. So we're definitely getting some good local brand awareness of people saying, I see you guys everywhere. You're at this event. I saw you on social media. I saw your TikTok. So we haven't really been tracking that, but we've seen it in the wild of it,
That's okay.
coming to fruition.
No
Just
data, I
curious.
guess, but definitely, I'm sure we'll need to start doing that soon. But yeah, like it's all kind of anecdotal.
It'll
I
all
guess,
come,
but,
guys.
yeah.
Slow is fast enough. It's fine.
Right.
I did see your TikToks. I was watching and trying to get some education before, but like I said, I like to just have conversations, so I don't want to know too much. But I did see a TikTok that was hilarious where you said that someone was trying to charge you X amount of dollars. That was an influencer, and you guys were like, we'll just do it ourselves. And
Yep.
like drank on.
That's
That's funny. Did someone actually approach you, or you guys were just being funny?
We were just being funny.
Yeah.
But
We'd seen like I saw one video kind of have that same kind of
Message, yeah.
message before.
Yeah.
And we were like, let's just try. Like we're on TikTok, we're like, we'll just try anything. Like doesn't matter. And it like blew up. Or for us, like we've never had that many views on anything, and we were like, damn, like that was like kind of a silly like message, and people just loved it.
Yeah.
And-
It's relatable.
Yeah, I think it's coming to be a thing. I have a background in influencer marketing. I used to work for a PR company, so I know that side of the industry. And the thing with influencers, there's no way to ever track the ROI on you paying some influencer to post your product. Sometimes it goes great and it can take you to another level. But I also know what a lot of these influencers are charging for one post or one story.
Yeah.
And for a small emerging brand to want to pay thousands and thousands just for the hopes that someone might see that and want to go buy it, isn't worth it to us. But we've seen that the people kind of really respond to it. Back in the day, if Kim Kardashian posted a teeth whitening brand, their sales would skyrocket because but now it's kind of, the veil has kind of been taken down where it's like, we don't trust you, or we know you're getting paid for this, so it's not gonna, this advertisement's not gonna work on me. But it's funny, the response that we got on those TikToks, a lot of other small brands saying, hey, I have a small brand, let's collab. So there's a kid up in Tampa, he has a brand called Happy Hour. We sent him some of our stuff, some of our hats, he sent us his hats and stuff. So
Love that.
we're gonna post videos for each other and just kind of support small creators. But
So
it's
fun. Yeah, it gets expensive. Like we were talking with the tastings, it gets expensive. Mistakes, manufacturing, all that sort of thing, brand expansion. If you guys are hiring teams, whatever you're planning on doing, right? And at the end of the day, I know you guys are a lot younger than me. I know that TikTok moves the needle. I know that a lot of people love to advertise and they do like the influencers and the boxes and all of that stuff. But a lot of people that are doing it are overpaying for what they're getting. And like you said, there's not a way to track the ROI. But also, like if you personally know how to do that, of course, it's hilarious that you literally said it, which is what people like. Like they like honesty, they like authenticity, and to say like, I'm going to do it myself, it worked, which is fun. And yes, sometimes there's only one of those viral moments.
Right.
And you hope and you're chasing the next one. But I think that you guys being local, having a little bit of the family history in the industry, you with the influencer background makes a lot of sense with some of the moves you made. I think as long as you stay true to that message and your sense of self, you'll be okay. In the industry, especially in something saturated like RTDs, people are just throwing money at everything to try to move the needle and just like blow up like this. And it just doesn't work like that, because then you will have that flash in the pan. And then what? You're like, you don't want to be here today and gone tomorrow. And like I was asking you, what's your next goal? I think that's great. You just want to grow locally, and that's amazing. But people listen to my show all the time from all over the world. Do you sell online right now?
Not currently.
Is that a goal?
In the beginning, we were, and we didn't do enough to promote it.
Okay.
We took it off. We were doing it through a retailer partner.
It also costs money
No
to,
kidding.
to run the online distribution, and we weren't seeing the sales to make it worth our while to pay to run this online distribution.
And it's expensive for the customer.
Right.
Because shipping, we were selling boxes, like a 4-pack for like, I don't even know, like $15 to $17 online, but shipping was another $15 to $20. Like, we're not going to cover it. We're not going to lose money on selling online. And with the RTDs, ready to drinks, is like you kind of buy them on the way to go drink them most of the time.
Also, there's room for error in shipping, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Denting the can, it's getting too hot and exploding or whatever, right? So there's risk in that. But people do always wonder, and they do ask about it, because a lot of brands do just build their can business online first.
Right.
And being that you had different flavors, maybe it would be like a bundle situation where then the shipping's free or whatever, and you have to find the right partner that makes sense with that. But that, again, comes with time. It's not something that a lot of the brands that I've interviewed before, they don't start with it, which I find to be interesting, because then I'll speak to spirits brands or wine brands, and like that's where they're starting.
Right. I think with a bottle, it makes more sense to ship it, where it's like Logan just said, the point of this drink is convenience. You want to buy it cold and drink it when you buy it. I think some of our retail partners, Primo Liquors, Total Wine, they have delivery. So there's delivery online within Florida and within a certain region. But we do see a lot of times we get inquiries on our website like, hey, I was in Fort Lauderdale this weekend. I'm back in Indiana, or I'm back in South Carolina, and where do I buy it here? So it's frustrating to not be able to get a customer who wants to buy your product, the product. But we're still...
It felt like too big of a lift as a kind of small brand to focus on that.
Right.
Instead, we just focus on Florida.
Yeah.
And our sales guy, who's awesome, so it's funny how we met him. He worked at the local kind of hotspot Mexican restaurant when we were kids growing up, and I've known him forever.
Okay.
And he then was in the liquor industry after that, and then we hired him, and he's been with us 2 years now, and he knows everyone in town. At every event, he knows everyone. He knows all these bar owners and restaurant owners just because he's been around forever. And so he's just been a blessing for us getting in new accounts, and he's just like the hardest worker, and he's always doing everything to represent the brand well. So he's been just great for us.
Love that. So you guys are doing the water taxi, but is the bigger goal to be on the cruise lines?
We just talked about this recently. Yeah, it would be great to be on the cruise lines, or even, we're in a lot of resort accounts too, but to be not just offered at the bar or at the pool, but to be in every room in the mini bar. I think this drink would be perfect mini bar drink. It's has a lot of flavor. You're not drinking, seltzer water.
Yeah.
It's something that you can't get in every state. So it'll, for local resorts, I think would be really cool. But yeah, any of those resorts, cruise ships, those high volume accounts would be incredible just because of the volume that they do.
And you can do it out of Florida. So that's a bonus for you guys. And then you get a reach, like you said, but then there's the other side of the coin where then people are going to be expecting to try to get it again off boat, right? So you have to plan for that. Maybe instead of tracking the return sales, you guys track how many people write to you from different states.
It's actually pretty impressive how much we get those inquiries from random states. Hey, when are you going to be in, North Dakota? We're like,
that's random.
Florida's so transient. You get people from every state and every part of the world here, which is a great place to launch a product.
Yeah, we get a surprising amount of inquiries from the website. And like we said, we were in the Omni Hotel in Amelia Island, and that came through the food and beverage manager there through our website that we didn't spend really any time on. We got an inquiry, and he was like, this sounds awesome. I want to carry it at our hotel. And
wow.
Omni, and they ordered 60 cases right off the bat they tasted it and liked it, and he was like, yeah, we're going to bring in 60, which was our biggest order to that time.
Right.
We're like, all right, maybe we got to focus on the online stuff. And
that's how I found you guys. I was targeted. I don't know why, but I was. Maybe because I'm local. But yeah, I found you guys that way too. And I was like, oh, they're local. That's great. Because I do like to highlight entrepreneurs that are around here. I obviously love being in person and I like trying the product. And it is very refreshing. I do love this. I tried the orange, so you better leave me a pineapple to try later.
Yeah, we'll leave some in the fridge.
Yeah, for sure. But what else is next for you guys? What are you trying to do outside of, like we were talking about, we're trying to round out all of these potentials. Publix is the big ticket item, but let's talk about that because I do know a little bit about it. If you win Publix, your first order is huge. It's every store if you get lucky, right? And you probably don't want every store and you want like half of them. It's still 150 stores and then you've got 3 SKUs, X, Y, and Z. Publix is not like Total Wine. They're different. It's grocery, right? So like you have a big chunk of people that are just by accident buying your product. They're not going there looking for it, right? So the return on the sales is so slim in comparison to the first opening order, which is huge because it's every store. So you really do have to invest. Now, because you guys have multiple flavors, let's put it out there. You get all flavors in. They're going to want you to launch with a BOGO where you're paying back and then a scan and you're competing and this and that. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you got to do it right because if you don't, then you're out the next year and you wasted $30K for what? Right.
Don't want to flop when you get in there. So we definitely have to be, like, honestly, probably a good thing we haven't got in there yet just because we want to be way more prepared.
Yeah.
And like you said, like I don't know if Publix does with alcohol, but I know they, like the BOGO stuff, so you got to spend a lot of money.
It's huge. It's huge. And that's really what they like. And honestly, that's how you win because most people aren't going to want to try your product just because they see it. It is cool. But they're not going to care, right? They're going there for whatever they're going there for or because they forgot to buy a case of X.
Right.
So the idea is they get that flyer and it shows, 2 drums on sale, buy 2, get X off. And they're like, oh, okay, let me try it, And then you get a nice hefty bill at the end of the month for those freebies. And it's great because you can see what actually moved because of that, which I personally like. I like that better than tastings because you're paying for what actually moved through the register, which was yours.
Right.
You risk that with tastings at Publix.
For sure.
Yeah, you could sell none. Like some of the people that do the tastings for us, just like,
I know.
They're not always, they don't care. Like, I don't blame them. Like, they don't care.
Or they'll have an excuse. Like, there's 3 other tastings going on, so I couldn't do anything, you know, which I get. Listen, I do tastings all weekends with my partnership agency, and I own 2 brands with my family. And like this past weekend, it's St. Patrick's Day coming up. So the Irish whiskey, I'm like, oh, it's going to do great. But the rum, maybe not.
Right.
And it didn't. There was one store we sold 1 bottle, and I want to be vicious, right? Like, I'm like, what the hell? You guys know, And even though I have other things in place that are costing me extra money, I have like a bonus structure going on. If anybody did perform well, which I gave them a target number, they were going to get bonused out X amount of dollars. I try all these things, and sometimes you just don't get it. I looked at the same tasting. It was 7 people that walked in the store. Now, do I really know if it was 7 people that came over to her or not? I'll never know. I'm not there.
No. Right.
But I believe them, and then I have managers sign in and sign out sheets. So they'll say, yeah, there was slow traffic or whatever. So then you have to take that data and be like, okay, is it worth it to go back there and do another tasting? Or do I just do a buy 2, save $20 and see what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So there's a lot. It's
Definitely.
a lot of learnings. It's never a perfect formula.
Ideally, we'd get Florida Orange into Publix because we kind of harped on, like, with presenting to them, just like Florida brand. It's Florida Orange. We're 2 Florida locals. It's like, so ideally it'd be just 1 flavor to start, just so like a test, and then go from there.
I love it. And be merchandised by the navels.
Yeah.
As a backup.
Right.
That'd be fun. Well, guys, we're going to be ending our episode pretty soon. Is there anything else that you want to leave for my audience that we didn't cover?
No, I mean, just going off the Publix thing, Publix does a food and wine festival. They do it in Hollywood Beach and St. Pete, and we've now done the last 2 that they've had, and it's a competition with all the brands, and we ended up winning Best Brew in both.
Yeah.
Amazing.
For both.
Congrats.
So it's called Savor. So we got some recognition there. We also recently just got recognized by RTD magazine as having like one of their top picks of the year. It was actually our Florida Orange flavor that got one of their top picks. So yeah, just a couple accolades that we've kind of been picking up over the last couple of years.
Love that.
But yeah, other than that, I think we've covered a lot of it.
Yeah.
I know.
We'll leave you guys with some merch and some drinks. And
Yeah, we love that. Well, make sure that you guys follow them on TikTok and on Instagram. They're at Two Drums on Instagram. Drink Two Drums on Instagram. Yep, this is a beautiful little setup. And let's talk about the skeletons. Where did that come from?
That was just something we was kind of
Johnny Depp rum.
Just fit with like the rum theme,
the Bahamian theme. You know, we saw these other brands like High Noon. It just seemed so like
corporate.
Blue skies and beach volleyball and everyone happy-go-lucky. We kind of wanted to have a little bit of a flair to us, a little edge.
I like it. Yeah. I like it. It works. It's see no evil, hear no evil, speak no
right,
evil.
exactly.
I like it. Thanks, Logan and Clark, for being here from Two Drums. It's a real coconut water seltzer. Be sure to check it out. Look for them in Total Wine. Look for them in Primos, all of the on-premise accounts that they talked about. And let's put it in the universe, guys. 2 Publix, right?
Yep.
Publix.
Only the orange flavor, though.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sipping and Selling.
With Joey Chanel.